You started selling supplements, right, on Amazon. So how did you start in the first place?
Amazon tells you that. If you look at the reviews tab, there's how do we calculate reviews or something like that.
And you mentioned about the time frame of how long you can go back to remove a review.
So it gets pretty tough to get those other reviews because even though they're still affecting your rating.
What are the main 3 review violation type that sellers are missing right now?
And then they go to Seller Central and they put in a case. And Seller Central says one of 2 things.
You mentioned that you don't do advertising on Amazon for your products. So how do you attract?
And so the secret is that there actually is advertising happening.
eCom Squeezed podcast.
Welcome back to eCom Squeezed. I'm your host, Sebastian, founder of Retail-Outsource. Today, I have a special guest, someone who has been selling on Amazon since 2010. That's very rare to find, to be honest. Selling supplements with his wife, going on to work with some of the biggest names in the e-commerce SaaS and services space. Carbon6, Manage, by Stats, Tracefuse, and now running his own company, eCom Triage, which help Amazon sellers remove non-compliant negative reviews and protect their listing 24/7. In this episode, we are going to talk about the dirty secret of negative reviews that Amazon won't tell you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sebastian. Really good to be here. And I'm excited to tell people that there's a way out when it comes to their negative reviews. Also to talk about whatever you want. Like as you mentioned, like I'm what are we, 16 years in this industry, all of them as a seller, half of them as a software and service provider and strategic partnerships in the space. So, I've got, as you said, a lot of experience, huge network. And so I'm ready. Whatever you want to talk about, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's very rare to find people who start selling and then, have that kind of experience. Most of the agency owners or the expert, they don't sell by themselves.
Right.
So they don't know, how the system operates. So my first question, you started selling supplements, right, on Amazon. So how did you start in the first place?
Okay.
How was it selling on Amazon?
Back then, if you had a picture, you made money.
Yeah.
So 2010 predates FBA as well as ads. And at that time, there were still a lot of text-only listings. And so if you had a picture, people immediately gravitated toward that and they click on it. If you had a really good picture, man, you just made sales. It was back then was super easy. And I didn't even, 2014, 15, 16, 17 is when the reviews went crazy with people. Back then, I didn't even need any reviews. As a matter of fact, to date, I've only got a few hundred reviews on my listing, but it's 4.6 and 12 years old. And most of my business is done on repeat business. And not that I'm suggesting this, but I don't run ads either. So my profit is maximized.
Wow. So that's something I really want to dig in. It's very hard to find, again, people who doesn't run ads within Amazon.
Yeah.
Great.
We can dig into that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, allowed to.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about the review side to start with, the reputation management at the review side, which is important to a lot of sellers. So, if you have an example as a seller or as a managing reviews of a lot of clients, that a client came to you like saying, okay, there are plenty of bad reviews. And how do you manage that in that situation? Let's assume, I will put some numbers so it's easy for you. So they came with a 3.6 stars and they have like 3,000 reviews. So how do you plan it to get them back? It's not possible in all the scenario, but how will you audit that account?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to be fully transparent here. If you're that low and you've got, are we talking like 3,000 negative reviews? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No. The chance in total 3,000 reviews.
Oh, in total? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In total, because that's going to take into consideration both star ratings and written reviews. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's something there, because typically what you'll find is on something with 3,000 reviews and such a low rating, you're probably around 30-40% or more of your reviews are negatives. And so let me tell people something that really sucks. If you're looking at seller feedback, you've got 5 stars there as well. 4 and 5 are positive. 3 is neutral. and 1s and 2s are negative. But if we're talking about product reviews, 1s, 2s, and 3s are considered negative by Amazon. A 3 is not considered neutral.
So anything above 3, is it good or is it bad?
4 and 5 are good reviews.
Okay.
3, 2, 1s are bad reviews. They have a negative, they're negative reviews, but they majorly negatively impact your star rating. And another thing that people need to know is that the reviews are not mathematical. So it's not a mathematical equation. As you get, 105 stars, 227 4 stars, blah, 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 blah. It's not purely mathematical. And Amazon tells you that. If you look at the reviews tab, there's how do we calculate reviews or something like that. And a little pop-up comes up and it says, yeah, basically it's not mathematical. So I believe that there are even more factors than I've been able to glean over time, but I've heavily I'm a Google local guide. And so they have an incredible review weighting system where as a level 8, I'm level 8 out of 10, right? With 400 reviews, thousands of pictures, hundreds of videos, and I've had 30 million views on my stuff, just to give you some context, right? Or 20 to 30 million. And so my review, when I write it on a company, holds a lot more weight than someone that has 30 reviews over the course of 10 years, right? Because, and then beyond that, the better you write a review, the more photos that you have, if you have videos, all those things factor into a weighting system. And there's a point system that you have as a reviewer. And I believe that Amazon, and I've seen Amazon for 16 years, take a lot of SEO data from Google early days. It used to be about 5 years behind. Now, I think they're pretty much neck and neck or even surpassed because it's just a product search engine, right? And so basically, all that to say is that you've got time decay on reviews, you've got review velocity of the reviewer, you've got how well written is it, you've got what's the diversity of reviews that the reviewer does. But none of that really matters if you don't have a lot of reviews and you get your first negative reviews, because it just crashes you, right? So when you have a lesser number of reviews, mathematically, it's very, very far off. As you get into the thousands, 5,000, tens of thousands of reviews, it becomes a lot more true to a mathematical equation. But by virtue of that, you have a harder time reacquiring a star rating if you're removing reviews from a client that has 10,000 negative reviews. But all that being said, every negative review you get has roughly the weight of 5 to 15 5-star reviews. And so for every negative review you get rid of, it's almost like acquiring 5 to 10 to 15 5-star reviews. And so this used to be a theory of mine, but I basically proved it out on enough accounts that it's mostly correct. But if you are removing negative reviews as you are continuing on your merry way of selling and getting just reviews overall, the impact of that on a mathematical equation within Amazon or whatever their equation is, you are overall improving the rating of your product between their displayed star ratings. And so what I've seen is that even if you've got a 3.6 with 3,000 reviews, and maybe we can acquire a 3.7 or a 3.8 or a 3.9. 3.9 would be 3.8 or above would be ideal, because then you'd be displaying 4 stars. But even if you're not going to get there, there's an impact on your BSR, and so your BSR goes crazy all day long. But overall, you'll start to see a decrease in your BSR, and then you start organically showing more, which gets you more clicks. And then if you've got more clicks, you'll ideally have more conversions depending on your listing. So ultimately, the investment into removing reviews has a attributable impact on your sales over time. I hope I didn't go too deep there too fast.
No, that's good. Well explained, Danan. And you mentioned about the Google local guide, right? So level 8 is very good achievement, to be honest. I'm on level 7. I was just checking while you're talking.
And it took you forever to get there, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm talking, this is years. Like
Yes.
now that I have kids, not reviewing nearly as much as I used to, but my wife and I, we used to travel all over the US and we'd find these spots like, oh, you got to go here, this, that, and the other, tons of pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, I just achieved level 8, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, and still got a long ways to go to get to level 9, a long ways.
Yeah. The jump is from 5,000 to 15,000, I guess.
Yeah, something like
Points
that.
you have to get. So that's huge.
Yeah.
And mentioned about the time frame of how long you can go back to remove a review. That's one of the questions that I get a lot from a lot of sellers.
Yeah.
How long can you go back?
There's no
listing? Is there
statute.
a time period?
No, there's no time period. So there's no statute of limitations on reviews. With that being said, we always go after the latest reviews first because those hold the most impact. That I have one client that he really wanted to get this review that was very clearly non-compliant with Amazon's terms of service. And the oldest review that I can recall seeing that I got removed, I don't really check what date the review was done, but it was 2018 for this particular one.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
that's
8 years ago.
A really old one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like, the payment refund that only can go back 90 days and stuff like that. So this is.
No. That
Right.
being said, Amazon only displays the last 100 negative reviews. So it gets pretty tough to get those other reviews because even though they're still affecting your rating, Amazon doesn't show them to you. You go into brand registry, you're not going to, or into Seller Central. There's no like download my reviews like there used to be.
Yeah. And, what are the main 3 review violation type that sellers are missing right now? The top 3.
So the biggest one is going to be arrived broken.
Okay.
And
Common one.
1-star review. Yeah, this is extremely common. So that's an FBA or shipping issue. And so that's got nothing to do with you if it's not a manufacturing defect. And so, I get an enormous amount of those reviews removed. The other one is going to be the box was crunched. Again, FBA and shipping. That's the biggest one. Next one is going to be defamation. Well, no, it's not really the top one. Maybe the next top one would be reviews that you don't think violate, but really do. And that's reviews that say in the title, didn't like, and then in the body it says didn't like, or didn't work for me, stuff like that. So it's buried in somewhere in the Amazon help files that if the purpose of a review is to help a prospective buyer be able to make a buying decision, and if it's not helpful in any way and doesn't provide any context behind it, it's actually in violation of their community guidelines. Even though it's not specifically spelled out in the community guidelines, it's in another policy buried. As you can imagine, I go on fairly deep dives into the review space, and I'm constantly searching for updates. Like Amazon just updated their community guidelines, by the way.
Nice.
And so,
when?
yeah. Like I found it about 4 weeks ago. It's been pretty recent because I look at it fairly regularly, but it actually defined to a little bit greater detail some of the violations, which believe it or not is a benefit to us because we can tell Amazon like it violates this section of your community guidelines.
Yeah. That's a very cool point that you brought forward, the third one. A lot of people doesn't know about that.
Yeah.
And the next one, for example, normally before you appeal, you will check the reviews, right? Okay, can I appeal this? Yes or no? Yes, then maybe you put an appeal. So is there any case that you said, okay, we can remove it, it violates the policy, you put an appeal in and Amazon says, oh, no, rejected it?
Oh, thousands.
So is there any dozens? So how do you deal with it?
Thousands.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
How do you deal with that?
So I have a theory.
Yeah.
If you owe the government money, say the IRS or HMRC or whoever.
Yeah.
Forget about that. Let's say you're making a request. I believe that Amazon, like the government, just says no automatically the first time, almost irregardless of whatever the context is. And so that probably eliminates 70-80% of their work by just saying no the first time. Now, they also cause themselves some trouble in that sellers like us open 10 freaking cases for the same thing because we know 9 of them are going to be disapproved without anybody actually looking at it. And then we get in trouble for that. But all that aside, it takes perseverance to get these reviews removed. I have technically, we don't necessarily go this far, and certainly not on every review, but I have technically 18 points of escalation.
Wow.
So whereas most sellers, they hit the report button knowing that's not doing anything. And historically, I can't see that having ever done anything. And then they go to Seller Central and they put in a case. And Seller Central says one of two things. They'll go, I looked at this and this doesn't violate. Or they'll say, we don't do this. You need to reach out to community help. So you reach out to community-help@amazon.com and they either ignore you or say, yeah, we looked at this and it doesn't violate. And you're like, no, it clearly violates. It's like, it says, I hate the president. That's the review, right? Like that has nothing to do with the product or whatever. It could say, this kills baby crocodiles in the Nile, Yeah. And there are lots of reviews out there that are like that are completely out of context, has nothing to do with the product. And someone's got just this personal vendetta against this brand, or it's a competitor who is hired to have fraudulent reviews put on to people's accounts. I didn't give you number 3 earlier. I gave you 2, but fraudulent reviews is the number 3.
Great. I want to dig into the third one though later on.
Okay.
The Prime Day is coming. Hopefully next month we'll have on the second or third week we'll have Prime.
Yep.
One of the to qualify to enable to do the Prime deals, need to have at least a certain amount of star ratings. So let's say that it's a 3.2 or 3.6. So
I
if
think it's
one of your client is on that edge, what will be your plan now if they want to enroll that to Prime deal and it's on the edge? What will be your
So the plan remains the same across all clients because it's dynamic. And what I mean by that is if you come to me and you've got 3 negative reviews, well, that's easy. I'm going to file on. If none of them violate, I'm not filing on them, right? Because we don't want to do false cases with Amazon. They need to be legitimate cases. So the other thing is that if you genuinely have a crappy product and I'm looking at your reviews, your negative reviews, and it goes, all of these reviews say that the thing breaks right here at this point, right? Well, guess what? I'm not helping you fix your product. I'm not, well, I won't go any further into that. But if you have a crappy product, you have a real problem to fix. The reviews are accurate, right? So I'm not just going to file on reviews that are actually true, when there's a problem and they're legitimate and they don't violate Amazon's terms of service. So that's one thing. But when I say that the plan is dynamic, we are filing and escalating cases based on the response rate and responses from Amazon. We also, if you have, 100 sales a day, we can't do 1,000 cases a day. We can't do 1,000 cases a month, right? And so the quantity of cases and the quantity of reviews that we're going to be working on and escalating, we can't just do 10 new reviews a week because we have to take other reviews and put them through an escalation process that basically many times the initial case that we put through is declined or ignored. So we have to follow back up. Now you have a communication velocity with Amazon that you don't want to go beyond a certain threshold because Amazon goes, you're talking to us too much. You're violating our terms of service that I've literally never seen. Apparently they have an internal Seller Central or customer support terms of service that none of us, I've never seen it. I've never found it. But they'll basically say, hey, you're talking to us too much. We're ignoring all of you, all of your stuff. And that's a legitimate thing, but it's internal. And by the way, there are ratings for seller accounts internally with Amazon. So we don't want to get on Amazon's radar for being too pushy with stuff, especially if it's kind of on the line, which is why I wouldn't do it anyhow, but is also why I wouldn't work on reviews that aren't actually non-compliant.
Great. Danan, you mentioned a lot of great points. And I want to check back on the, competitors putting bad reviews.
Yeah.
So is there any way, when they put it there, they should be quite organized. And they know how to put reviews, and they will make sure that it doesn't violate any of the Amazon's, community guidelines. Maybe not. Okay.
No, definitely a lot of them do.
How do you find out if it's a competitor or not?
So I can't tell you if it's a competitor or not, but I'll put it to you this way. Most of society is not going to go out of their way to tell you that these sunglasses are bad for the environment, bad for your health, and dangerous to your children, right? Because it's just not true, right? So basically, I should probably actually put this into categories, types of fraudulent reviews. There are the ones that make wild claims that trigger Amazon to shadow ban or shadow suspend your listing or send an AI to inspect things, and then you get a performance notification and you have no idea why. You're like, this isn't true. For instance, what was it, maybe 2 years ago, something like that, a whole bunch of people got their product suspended for environmental reasons. What was it? It was pesticides.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I sold a blanket, right? And they suspended my listing because it had pesticides in it. So I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a blankie. There's no pesticides in this. So that's a case of Amazon. They've got hundreds of millions of things that they have to look into, but they're deploying something and it wholesale just goes ban, smash, delete, change, and this happens all the time, which consequently, by the way, totally side thing, is why I have Catalog Defender, is to monitor for those changes, because it happens all the time, especially with big catalogs, right? So it's the thing you have to, let me back up a second. I think the most important thing to know is that there is a cost to doing business with Amazon, right? And that cost is your mental health in some respects. And if you know that going in, you'll have an easier time of handling it. But, to go back to the fraud cases, you have crazy claims that very often they say, buyer beware, do not buy. It's often in all capitals, right? Then you've got ones that are false claims about what the product is made of, like, hey, this contains lead, stuff like that, or doesn't contain creatine.
Yeah.
And yet on the listing, there's an independent study that shows the quantities, stuff like that. So that's my worst client in terms of getting review bombed, which is another thing I'll mention more of in a second. At 65 one-star reviews in 6 days, and went from a 4.3 to a 3.5 or something like that. And I only got half of those reviews removed before the client said, and by the way, they had thousands of reviews and it was a great product. They eventually called me back and like, dude, thank you so much for what you're doing, but we have to relaunch this. Like, it just ain't happening. And they lost millions of dollars because one YouTuber went out and smashed them, making a bunch of false claims. And then a whole bunch of people went and took screenshots of his video with all kinds of, again, false information and used that. And they even put duplicate reviews on there. So that's one thing. So when we are looking at reviews, we're looking at your negative review velocity, and you have a rough average, let's say 1 negative review per day, and then you spike to 10, 15, 20 for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and go right back to where you were. Well, you just got hit by a competitor who paid, a company or a series of people to leave negative reviews, and that then your rating, even if your rating doesn't change, because suddenly your rating between ratings takes a huge dive, Amazon goes, oh, there's a problem with this. Your BSR spikes way up. You lost your pole position on the SERPs, and your competitor takes that position. Now, they might have spent $2,000 paying people to leave negative reviews, but if you're making 20 grand a day and you lose position 1, 2, 3, and you go down to page 2, well, hell, someone else just gained 15.
Yeah, it's a numbers game for them.
So ethics aside, which, is abhorrent, like I would never do that to anybody. And I don't think anyone should ever do that to anyone. But financially, from a purely business perspective, if you have no ethics, it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now,
people should not do that.
Absolutely.
Completely against this kind of practices.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, I could definitively prove to Amazon that there was a date, taking this client that I had, right? There was a date where I can say, look at this video, look at all these reviews. They all reference that video. You asked for the MSDS sheet. What's the material safety data sheet? All the ingredients on the supplement. You asked for this independent study. Here it is. You have the data, and yet you let these people slam this account. And I can prove every single one of these are connected because they're all connected to the same YouTube channel by taking that screenshot and the data from it. But I was still only able to get half of those removed.
Yeah.
So like, I wish this weren't the case, but I don't have a team at Amazon. I can be like, hey guys, I need you to investigate this, please.
Yeah, but
I've been
Amazon will
searching.
not take it seriously, right? Even if it's like foul play or anything,
Right.
they will not admit.
Correct. They definitely won't admit that they let that stuff get through. You know, Amazon does actually stop millions of fraudulent reviews, you know, and they've poured a lot of money into the system that detects that. And there's a guy that he's head of the neural network. They have a neural network that makes these associations. Like, in my opinion, and I can't prove any of this, but you know, every time you log in, you have an IP address. This is your internet address, and it doesn't often change. And beyond that, you've got a MAC address on the device that you're using. So a serial ID that is tied specifically and solely to your device. Then you've got social media accounts, which are often shared with the same account that you use to log into Amazon. So they can go, this is our user, frank@frank.com. Look, there's frank@frank.com over there on Facebook. He's friends with Bill and just left a 5-star review saying that Bill's product cures cancer. Yeah, let's not let that one go through.
Yeah.
And so this was something I warned about many years ago on having friends and family leave reviews. Like, you'd better not be evidently associated with these people. And even then, they can make connections. We're like, how, you know?
Yeah.
So they do have this.
We try to do something similar. We try to link it with the address on the Amazon FBA. We collected all the reviews, the negative reviews, and we tried to match up. And we managed to get narrow it down to a certain location, all the reviews, the postcode. So we know exactly it's kind of, but Amazon will never admit.
No, they won't. And you know, you used to be able to download. First of all, you used to be able to see which order left what review, right?
Yeah.
And then you could handle it from there. And then Amazon stripped that out, right? They made it so that you couldn't actually see this stuff. Another thing, not a lot of people know about this, and I actually just found out about this yesterday that they made this change, but every Amazon buyer has a random character generated @Amazon email address that is used for their orders internally. And that used to be in the one of the files that you could download, one of the reports that you could download. And so you used to be able to make an association with, okay, this random string of characters at Amazon email just ordered again. Good, I have a repeat purchase from this customer. Well, they just did away with that in some way or hid it or something like that. So I was talking to another developer about this, and I'm like, crap, now we can't actually tell who's a repeat buyer. Only Amazon knows this. Because on my supplements, I had people that have paid me north of $10,000, you know, over the course of many years because of just buying and buying and buying and buying.
Yeah. And Danan, you mentioned about catalog defense that you offer. So is that including the review, removing negative review, maybe collecting new reviews, sending some additional notification?
No, it's a completely separate. Yeah, so it's a completely separate company. So it's called Catalog Defender. It's catalogdefender.com. It's not live yet. I've just got minimum viable product going right now with like 5 customers, and we're cleaning it up. But basically what we do is you tell us, you can give me your merchant token and we can see your active ASINs, but you say, I want to check all these ASINs on this cadence, once a week, twice a week, 5 times a week, 7 times a week, once an hour. And we'll go look at that for critical changes that happen to it. Did your reviews get split from the parent ASIN, which Amazon's doing a ton of right now, right? Is your category correct? Is your node correct? Is a child ASIN under a different category or browse node? Did your title change? Do you have any words in triplicate? Because Amazon doesn't allow that, right? So you can have 2, but you can't have 3 of the same word in the title or bullet points and stuff like that. There's over 20 different things that we're monitoring, and it doesn't actually require any API access to your account. It's all publicly available data. And so we're just cross-referencing that every time. And a lot of times, this is particularly for larger catalogs, but anyone of any size could use it. But basically, it's monitoring when it finds and when it detects an issue. There's an alert system, and depending on the type of issue, there's a template that we know has worked with Amazon from our current beta testers or alpha testers actually, and we go, cool, here's the entire template with all of your information pre-filled, open a case, send it to Amazon.
Great. And all this are kind of manual work, or is that the system, your software will manage it? Because there are a lot of checkpoints that you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
It will be very manually intensive, right? If you want to execute by a human.
Oh yeah, there's no way you could go through it all, and you wouldn't even know necessarily. Like when Amazon changes a browse node, they're not like, hey, we made this change for you, right?
Yeah.
So there's, going back to 2010, it didn't matter what you wrote, it didn't matter what your photo was, it didn't matter anything. But we've gotten so sophisticated with this stuff that your product detail page and the stuff on the back end needs to be extremely well built, exactly relevant to the product that you're selling with all the keywords and all of the content revolving around that. The images now need to be hyper relevant to the category, to the product, to the target customer, and all of your back end stuff needs to be filled in with appropriate data, right? It's SEO, it's search engine optimization for Amazon, right? These tools are at your disposal. But if all you do is put up a 10-word title and 3-word bullet points and stuff like that, you're missing the boat here. You don't use A+ content. I don't actually use A+ content, but anyhow, we won't go into that. But, all of this stuff are small, meaningful when it comes to the whole, but small things that you can do to incrementally improve your listing. Now, Amazon, they roll things back, they make changes, they test things, test all the time. A lot of people don't remember this, but there was a small period of time where Amazon was testing just not showing all 5 stars and the rating of those 5 stars. And all they showed was a single star. And in order to see what the actual rating was, you had to roll your mouse over it, and then a little pop-up would come out and it would say 5 stars, this percentage, 4 stars, this percentage. Well, it tanked those products, like ruined them. And some people actually had to stop selling, or they basically did stop selling, and it ruined the product because people scrolling through went 1 star. Definitely not buying that.
Yeah.
So, all these things, there's little tiny things you can do to perfect it. If they're breaking down or wrong, or like you're missing a neural connection, well, that's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
So, that's basically what we're monitoring is, well, how many paper cuts have you got? All right, that's a pretty big paper cut. You're bleeding pretty heavily here. So let's fix this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. And
Yeah.
I like the fact that you mentioned about all this change, how to check it. So that's all fantastic. And I want to touch base on the point that you mentioned about defamation. So I remember back in like 2030, we can download a defamation form, fill that, and send that, and they will remove the feedback. So is that the same now, or is that things have changed?
We still go through the same process for product defamation as we do for any other review. Now, I do have different escalation paths depending on what content is in a review. If there's defamation, if I suspect it's fraud. Usually for fraud stuff, we'll try to aggregate everything together and do one case, like we believe that these are fraud. And we may even ask Amazon, can you please investigate this ASIN and all of its reviews, because there's these spikes in negative reviews, but not spikes in sales velocity. Not that I know that, but even so, like what I'll tell you something that you'll typically see. And this is why you'd want to start removing your reviews now, is because before Prime Days, you see a massive amount of fraudulent reviews go out to tank your listing. And this happens to the point with some products where they can't even do lightning deals.
That's true. I saw it happening. You're very true on that. They organize and they wait for the right moment, like before
Correct.
Prime or before Q4, Black Friday. They wait for the right time and then attack.
Yeah,
So,
every high sales period has a period of negative review bombs on targeted products beforehand, roughly a week to 2 weeks beforehand. They won't do it all in one day. They'll typically space it out over 3 days to 2 weeks.
Great. Yeah, that's a bad thing. And then, we mentioned about removing feedbacks, right? Product reviews. What about collecting new reviews? Amazon have their own system to send the request, and we have third-party softwares that send compliant review requests, like from Helium 10. We can set up a different kind of chain and it will follow that pattern. What kind of system you have or will you recommend to the sellers?
I don't have a system. I don't dip my toes into acquiring reviews just because it's such a dangerous area for any seller. And you could do everything perfectly right and still get in trouble because somebody's like, well, I think that you've broken the rules. Who makes the rules? Well, I make the rules. Like, actually, the rules are right here. I make the rules. So in many ways, like, Amazon's a massive company. The people that work there that I've met are freaking awesome. They do want to help, but the company's so massive that in many cases they just can't, right? And so there's a couple of ways to do it. One is through QR codes, but it has to be legitimate. So there's a company called Swapt, SWAPT. Mention my name because the CEO knows me, and I think he gives some sort of initial discount if you go there from me.
I will put the link there down in the show notes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't have a coupon code. Just say, hey, I heard from you from Danan. What's the deal that you give people that I don't remember what it is, and I don't have an affiliate agreement with them either. But so it's not a promotional thing. But and then the other one is you've got Star Boost, and they are finding targeted buyers. So it's not a buying group. So they go find people that they think are interested in your product and say, we'd like your feedback on this. So this is not a review purchase system. You're getting feedback, but often that feedback from the buyer comes in the form of an Amazon review. A fairly high percentage of those sales are reviews. So, you just gotta take that into account. And that my best advice is read the rules on reviews. Find everything that you can. I should probably put together a document, but find everything that you can and pretend like Amazon is a schizophrenic dictatorship, because it is, and see if you and do everything above board. So I'll give you an example of something that happened. And this guy hadn't done anything wrong. It was a warranty workflow, right? Yeah. He did nothing wrong. Everything was by the book, except for the fact that he said, leave us a review. And then he had a picture of the 5 stars. That was it. He didn't ask for 5 stars. And so Amazon said, yeah, no, you're coercing them to leave 5 stars. Like, well, I'm not going to put 2.5 stars. Yeah. No, nobody does that. Nobody in the world does that. So everything that you can do that's completely acceptable outside of Amazon can get you in serious trouble with Amazon. And they wiped 12,000 reviews from his product. And the interesting thing is this. He said, well, I didn't do it. I didn't break your rules. Just because that's there, that's not a violation. It doesn't say I can't put stars on there. And they said, well, look, you either admit you were wrong or we ban your account, your Seller Central account. Those were his options. It's like, yeah, I admit I'm wrong.
You have no option.
Yeah.
Play by Amazon's rules.
Correct. And Amazon changes the rules depending on who you're talking to.
That's very true as well.
Yep.
Danan, I have 2 more questions before you go.
Yep.
At the starting, you mentioned that you don't do advertising on Amazon for your products. So how do you attract? I know it's out of topic, but it's so fascinating to discuss that.
It's just unique. Okay, so the brand I sell on Amazon has brand recognition, and people are specifically searching for the brand name. Now, it's a supplement, right? So like I could be spending tens of thousands of dollars a week in advertising, but that's a lot of profit. So I just let the people, I got a bunch of people that are on subscribe and save, which by the way, they don't even save anything. I opted out of subscribe and save, and Amazon turned it on anyhow, and people just don't get any savings. And then I have people that specifically search for it. And because I've got I can't remember what my conversion rate, but it's massive. It's like 40% or something like that, or 50%, something.
That's amazing.
Maybe not 50.
Do you have anything like influencer program, or do you do advertising on the Facebook or any other channel outside of Amazon?
So this is not a private label product. I'm selling the product from another manufacturer that I've been in partnership with for over a decade.
Got it.
They do off Amazon advertising, and people for the convenience get the overflow. I basically get the overflow because Amazon's convenient. And so the secret is that there actually is advertising happening, right? It's just not being done by me on Amazon. And so this is a strategy you can employ. Go find a manufacturer that has a great brand that is terrible at Amazon or doesn't want to even be on Amazon, and say, hey, I'm a pro at Amazon. I'll handle it for you. All customer service, all logistics, I'll handle it.
Yeah.
So that's how I do that.
There are plenty of companies like that, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah. And maybe they are just focused on US marketplace. They don't look into the Europe side, for example. Plenty of opportunities, I will say. And my last question, Danan, AI is a big thing, right? A lot of sellers are everywhere. If you open LinkedIn, it's AI. I use AI. This is the workflow, blah, blah, blah. So what's your take on it? Are you using it? If you're using it, what's the workflow? What do you use, Claude, or do you use ChatGPT or Gemini or any other Perplexity? Or what's your take on it?
The only one I don't use is Perplexity. So I'm fully integrated with Google Workspace. So I heavily use Gemini inside of Workspace, and I'll use it for random chats. Gemini is also way better at locating YouTube videos and extracting data from YouTube videos. So every YouTube video has a chat transcript. So I can just pop a link in there and go like, give me the cliff notes on this and give me the action items, rather than watching a 40-minute video. If I get enough into a video where like, I like what this person's saying, it makes sense to me, I might take that video, pop it into Gemini and go, just give me the action items that I need to do to get this achievement. Because almost every video these days starts off with a hook, right?
Yeah.
And the hook is, today you're going to learn how to make a tree out of sand.
Yeah.
Cool, I want to do that. I like what this person's saying. Just tell me what I need to do. Shortcut it. I use ChatGPT. I've been using it for a couple of years now, and it's mostly for projects, but I just started diving into Claude in earnest. I 2 nights ago deployed my first agent. I installed Claude Code onto a virtual private server into the terminal and built my first agent to go and look at my emails every single day before I get to my emails, reference my SOP document and my customer Q&A, and draft a reply and tag them based on my historical tagging system, and also look at any prior emails that I've had with that address and extract context that's relevant to add additional data into the response, and then also look at the customer details ASIN sheets if that's relevant. And so today was the first day that it fully deployed and did anything, and I need to check and see how it's doing. But that's through Claude Code.
Yeah.
And so yes, I'm using it. It's
great.
Cowork has been incredible. Code is even more incredible than Cowork, but I've only used it once and I've been bumbling my way through it. But it's really helpful on helping you use it.
Exactly, yeah. I use all of them.
Yeah.
And normally I will, when I start chatting with Claude, Cowork, mainly I use Cowork, I will say, okay, how can I amplify myself? So it will go, you take this one and you ask this question to this person. So it will do the email and it knows about yourself, your pattern based on all the meeting records and everything. So it guesses and it does. It's really amazing, actually.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm doing right now is because I have 8 different brands, right? And
different brands.
Yeah, okay. By brands, I don't necessarily mean 8 brands on Amazon. I don't have 8 brands on Amazon, but I have eCom Triage, Catalog Defender, Adventure with Danan, Waypoint Unknown podcast, the eCom Growth Show podcast, Grumpy Monkey Art is my wife, Mother of Monkeys is my wife. There's one more, I can't remember what it is. But basically, these are 8 different businesses that we run, right? And Sippy Cups and Startups. It's a podcast we haven't even started for parents that are also partnered as entrepreneurs. It's a very niche podcast. I'm really excited to get it started. But anyhow, that's the 8th one. Each one of these has lots of different things that need to be done. And so what I started doing, it's too big right now, but it's like a 20-page text document of every single brand, codes for each of them, what they do, the path to revenue, what their social media accounts are, all this data about it, one-liners on what it is, an elevator pitch, and then details. And then that becomes my master reference markdown file for Claude to go, what are we talking about today? Cool, reference this. Good. Now there's going to be a skill file for each one of those 8 brands that goes into great detail on what the brand is, the brand image, the links to the logos, all that kind of stuff. And this is something I'm building out right now because I want to integrate fully with Claude and have one source that has access to all my stuff. So I can just, and I'm going to probably hook it up to Telegram, be like, hey, for Adventure with Danan, put on my calendar or my task list that I need to go and do this thing. I need to call this person. I need to do whatever. And it's integrated into Trello or Google Tasks or whatever. Like I'm going deep on this one, but it's slow because I'm not a pro at this. Like I have no development history other than websites back in like 1999.
But you have achieved a lot if you have, the thing that you have just mentioned.
Well, I'm building it. I'm just building that document, but I've spent
it would free up a lot of time, right?
Yes,
yourself,
definitely.
If you to run 8 different brands, that's huge on itself.
Yes.
And thanks a lot. I think you're busy as well over the time as well. So
yes.
Thanks a lot for sharing all the advice. I appreciate your time. And for
Absolutely.
the viewers, where can they find you and what all services that you offer? So you have a few brands specifically for Amazon.
Yeah. So basically for Amazon, I've got 3 brands. It's eCom Triage, which does the negative review removal, Catalog Defender, which does the monitoring for critical issues and alerts, and then the eCom Growth Show, which I should have you on, by the way, talk to you about your brand that you're sitting on right now.
Of course.
But LinkedIn is pretty much a terrible way to get a hold of me, but I do eventually get to my messages. And then ecomtriage.com, you can find out a little bit more about me, not much. Honestly, email's probably the best. It's just Danan at ecomtriage.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me. And then Claude will answer you.
It's all automated, right? Okay. So what I will do, I will put the email, the LinkedIn profile, and the 3 brands for the Amazon services that you have in the show notes. So please do check it out and pop an email to Danan if you have any questions about the review side of the account. He's I'm following him for a long time on LinkedIn. He's like specialized on this area. So give him a shout.
Sebastian, there's one more I totally forgot about. It's ecom.events. I'm launching this website, I hope next week. Ecom.events is the website. And it'll have all of the in-person digital and product trade shows that I can get my hands on. And it'll just be one chronological list with a map. And then eventually also all the parties connected to those events with all the registrations links. So you'll only have to go to one place to find out what e-commerce events are happening all over the world.
That's very cool, actually. To be honest, I was just doing that on my Claude. I was creating an Excel with all the details for each country.
You don't need to. I'll give you access to mine.
I can go over there.
Yeah. I'll give you access to my sheet, but you can also just go to the website. It should be live in a week.
Fantastic. So I'll put that link as well. So that's something that, as a community, we need, right, on the Amazon side.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Danan.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.